Every once in a while, I will come across a book that I open up and go, wait, was this illustrated? Or is that an actual photograph? Or maybe you've seen a book that looks painted, but something about it feels just too perfect. Congratulations, you've stumbled into the digital age of picture books, where illustrators don't just pick up a paintbrush or a pen, they grab cameras, tablets, and styluses and make magic happen on a screen. Hey everyone, I'm Nick. This is Dr. Cranky Pants Reads, and today we're talking about photography and digital art in picture books. Not because all illustrators are smudging charcoal or wrangling watercolor washes. Some are clicking, scanning, editing, and rendering their way to jaw-dropping visuals that blur the line between reality and art. Let's start with why photography and digital art matter in picture books. Because really, look, illustrators have always used whatever tools they could get their hands on. But instead of just reaching for a sketchbook, some are reaching for their cameras or firing up Photoshop. And this isn't just about convenience. Photography and digital tools allow for hyper-realism or surrealism. A photo-based book can be as realistic or manipulated as the artist wants. Impossible textures and lighting are possible because digital painting allows illustrators to mimic anything. Oil paint, watercolor, gouache, and with way more control. This allows for new storytelling possibilities, with some books feeling like movies on paper, while others look like photojournalism for kids. And some just mash it all together into something you've never seen before. So how do you tell if a book was illustrated with photography, digital painting, or a mix of both? Well, let's break it down. First up, photographic illustration. Graphic picture books aren't just a bunch of snapshots slapped on a page. They are carefully staged, manipulated, or enhanced images that become their own form of illustration. For example, I could go with a very classic informational text with graphic images. That would be the easy way to come at it. But let's look at a slightly different example. Nanette's Baguette by Willems. This isn't digital collage. These are actually 3D paper sets that Willems built, staged, and photographed. Instead of traditional illustrations, the book looks like a still from a stop-motion animation film with handmade props and dramatic angles that make it feel alive. So, how do you spot a photographic illustration in picture books? You're going to want to look for real-world lighting and shadows. If the light feels natural and casts real-world shadows, chances are it's photography. You also want to look at physical textures. Can you see the paper grain, fabric folds, or actual depth in the image? That's a giveaway. Also, if you're thinking about a staged stop motion kind of feel, if the book looks like someone paused in animation, photography is likely involved. Illustrators love this for its hyper-realistic storytelling that feels immersive and unique. It creates a cinematic feel, making picture books feel like frozen movie scenes, and lets artists mix handmade elements with photographic realism, creating something that feels both crafted and real. If a picture book looks like it was built, staged, and shot instead of drawn, photographic illustration is probably behind it. Next, let's talk about digital painting, when illustrators trade brushes for styluses. Because if photography is all about capturing reality, digital painting is about creating an entirely new one. One that looks like traditional painting, but with way more flexibility, layering, and control. Let's look at another one of my favorites, Mother Bruce by Ryan Higgins. Higgins' illustrations look painterly, but they were created digitally. The brushstrokes, the textures, and the color blending all mimic traditional techniques, but with that precise control that only digital tools can provide. If you're trying to think through, was this created with a brush or a stylus? Here's a couple of things you can look for. If the colors are perfectly blended, chances are there was a stylus involved. If you see smooth, flawless transitions between shades, chances are it's digital. Also, if you see impossibly crisp details, every single blade of grass, every fur strand, or every texture is just perfectly sharp, that's some digital precision. And additionally, it's too clean to be physical. There's no paint smudges, no visible brush strokes, no imperfections. Chances are, digital. Illustrators love it because it mimics traditional painting techniques, but allows for infinite undo buttons. It creates flawless detail and depth without a real-world mess, while also allowing for limitless experimentation. If a color isn't working, it can be changed in seconds. So now that we've covered photography and digital art, we've officially wrapped up our deep dive into artistic mediums and picture books. But before we move on, let's talk. Have you ever noticed how digital painting can look traditional but feel very different? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's discuss. I'll see you in the next one.